Welcome back to Hoops All In. We're flying solo today. Werls can't be with us, but he will be back next week for sure. Um, we're getting over the NBA draft first round of the lottery. The second round is happening tonight as I'm recording this, so we're not going to be talking about the second round today, but we are going to talk about the first round, a lot of lottery stuff. I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite picks, some of my least favorite picks, and then I'm going to grade every lottery pick. But before we get to that, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you comment below what you think about the draft so far, and leave a like. Make sure you also follow Hoops All In on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And then remember to subscribe to our personal channels, Keith HAI and Worlds TV. Worlds will be back with us next week. But what I really want to start off with the draft, which it's before I do get deep into this, I am not a draft expert. I did a very poor job this year of learning and doing deep dives into a lot of these players. I last year and the Wemby draft, which was the year before, I did a pretty good job about knowing pretty much everyone who went in the first round and knowing a good amount about them. There are some players in here I really like in the first round that I hadn't heard of, and that's not good because they're all first round picks and I should know things about them. So this is not going to be the highest quality or highest knowledge of the draft. So just warning you beforehand. But what I want to start with is my three favorite prospects that went in the first round. And I'm not using Cooper Flag, so I don't want to hear it. Cooper Flag is not being used. I don't want to hear the number one pick is everyone's favorite pick. But of course, for all of these, make sure you comment below comment your three favorite prospects and the things that fit these other categories below. My three prospects, the guy that I would say I started off with, oh yeah, he's my, like the first guy I was like, yeah, he's my guy, is probably the big man from Duke, Kaman Maluach. Just because I love me want a center like that. The traditional center isn't a thing we see a ton in the current NBA. I will say Maluach is kind of a hit or miss. There's not a ton of these traditional centers where they can't really shoot or they're not as skilled to be able to operate by themselves. And the ones that we do have are super elite at something like Rudy Gobert, elite shot blocker. Like I'm not even talking about the top of the top, like Clint Capella, great rebounder. Um Donovan Clingan, only a rookie, but an elite shot block. Like you understand what I'm saying. And there's not a ton of those. And typically they aren't guys that are playing 32 minutes starting on playoff contending teams. But so Malawach is my guy. Again, I love a traditional center. Again, he's very hit or miss. So we'll see how that goes. I think he got drafted. The moment he got drafted to Phoenix in the 10th pick, which was part of the Durant trade, I was like, okay, great, yes. And I still am like that. But then I believe either a pick or two later, our first, maybe it wasn't our first, but our a trade happened to where Mark Williams got sent to Phoenix for the 29th pick and some like protected 2029 pick between Cleveland and Minnesota. So then I'm like, okay. So Phoenix, in a matter of 6 months, traded for both of Charlotte's centers, Mark Williams and Nick Richards. So they've really got the Charlotte center rotation over there. And then they have Malawach, which I really hope that maybe they can find a spot for Nick Richard or like I just hope Malawach gets minutes, man. He's got to. I'm so against drafting a lottery or a high pick and then not playing them for the first 2 years of their career because there's just no room. I would rather them play Malawach than I would rather them play Nick Richards. Even though Nick Richards was a great addition last year for what they could do, I like Mark Williams will start as long as he's healthy. I pray he's healthy because I'm a huge Mark Williams fan and I really believe in him. But maybe it's good that they'll still have Nick Richards just in case Mark Williams does get hurt like that. But Malawach is one of my prospects that I are my favorite. The second one, Carter Bryant. Carter Bryant, I think, got drafted to a fantastic situation, which we will talk about later, to the Spurs at 14. But he is one of those guys. He, at some point in his career, is going to get paid. Get paid. Um, I think he was an off the bench guy. I want to pull up his stats while I'm talking about this right now. So he played 19 minutes. He only 6 points, but 4 rebounds, a block, and a steal. 37% from three. And then his per 40 minutes, he was a 13, 8 rebound, 2 steal, 2 block guy. Like he is one of those guys that I can't believe teams let him fall down to the Spurs. I had him so high on my big boards. I think I might have had him like seventh. I cannot believe he almost fell out of lottery, and nonetheless he fell to San Antonio, which I think is a perfect situation for him. And then my third pick, who I like how he plays, but once this guy got drafted and I heard a little bit of the story, I became even more of a fan. VJ Edgecombe. But he's from the Bahamas. He got picked third, obviously, with the whole Ace Bailey stuff. But man, before he was even in the league, he's doing stuff like I think a school, like a nonprofit thing, like everything he's doing over there is great. And that made me even more of a fan. He was talking about his mother, I believe. I don't remember the whole thing about it, but his story really made me even bigger of a fan. Um, so those are my three favorite prospects so far: VJ Edgecombe, Malawach, and Carter Bryant. Now, two fit picks I wasn't a fan of. Not saying I don't like these players, not saying I don't like the team or I don't like whatever. I just think that they could have gone to a better situation or that team could have picked someone that was maybe a little better suited. Um And honestly, I had one that came right off the bat, and one of them is sort of a meme going around. Colin Murray Boyles going to the Raptors. Raptors, I wish they took. It's not that I wish they took Malawach, but like I wish they went straight center. Man, they've got so many wings and guards and forward. Like they've got so much of like all these forwards and wings. Now, granted, they are trying to look to trade RJ Barrett. But I just wish they took a center. I wish they did. I don't think Pirtle is a very long planned type of thing. And Colin Murray Boyles is only like 6'7", so he's not obviously a guy that's going to play center. He's one of the best deep defenders in the draft. Like he might be the best all around defender in the draft, by the way. And that's saying something when you look at like Carter Bryant, Cooper Flag, anything. He's a dog, but I just thought that the Raptors could have taken someone else, and Colin Murray Boyles could have went to, you know, Phoenix if they wanted. He could have went down to Portland, or whatever. Maybe even fall to San Antonio, which I doubted he was gonna do, but I thought he would have been good there. And then the Bulls. This one it's not really. I just couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do with this. And some people are gonna be like, the Nets draft pick. We'll get there. Noah Singh is a good player. I'm glad that the Bulls. I'm just glad the Bulls didn't draft a point guard or shooting guard. because if they did, I would have felt for Bulls fans because the Bulls, Giddy, White, Io DeSumo, Trey Jones, Javon Carter, Lonzo Ball, um, and there's probably at least that's six straight up like point guard shooting guards. And they really like their wings, Patrick Williams, Monas Buzelis, and then their centers are like Vooch and Jalen Smith and Zach Collins. Or not Jalen Smith, sorry, Vooch and Zach Collins. So I kind of wish they also went big man, but that's it. Like Noah Senge is good there too. A forward is good. I was just hoping that Malawatch maybe fell to them, or maybe they reached and they took Asa Newell, but which is one of the guys that Asa Newell, like, I don't know. Asa Newell is a guy that is really going to need to prove to me something because I'm not completely sold on him as a player. He is going to Atlanta, right? I think he's going to Atlanta. Can find that out real quick. Let me see. I believe he went 23rd. Yes, he's going to Atlanta. All right. And then the last thing is two players that I really, really want to know, like really get to know more about because I'm not the most knowledgeable on them. Neat Clifford, first of all, Neat Clifford fire jacket, I will say. Neat Clifford's jacket was fire, but when I was looking at some of the best dress there, because right, part of the fun part is looking at who's the best dressed. I think I got to give it to one of the Rutgers boys between Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. I'm a sucker for black and red, so I really liked Ace Bailey's. Trey Johnson, I'm not going to comment, but his draft fit was a little something. And then Cedric Coward. Cedric Coward was hurt for this year, so he really don't know too much about him as of recently. He only played, I think, 5 games. But he looks like he could be a really valuable player for Memphis. And the fact that they got him, although the player that they traded them for at 16 that the Blazers got, the big man from China. I'm not going to butcher your name. Looks like a dog too, but still. All right. So yeah, those are the two players, Neat Clifford and Cedric Coward. I really want to. I can't wait to see what they are at the highest level. But before we go here, we're going to grade every NBA draft or every lottery pick. A, B, C, D, and F. Those are the things. First two, Cooper Flag, Dylan Harper, A. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. It was a 2-player draft. Those were the guys going at 1 and 2. Neither of them got traded. Obviously, Cooper Flag wasn't going to, but some people thought maybe the Spurs were gonna. But nope, they kept him, which I think is a good right thing. I mean, you can never have too much young talent. Number 3, VJ Edgecombe. Obviously, the Ace Bailey stuff. Ace Bailey did not want to go to Philly, did not want to go to Charlotte, and did not want to go to Utah. He wanted to go either to Washington, New Orleans, or Brooklyn. Obviously, we'll get there, but I said Philly I thought was put in such an unfair kind of position because like Ace Bailey is the 3rd best player in this draft. Maybe 4. Maybe you could convince me 4th for VJ, but he's no lower than 4, and I think they 100% would have taken him if this all didn't happen. But VJ Edgecombe, I'm gonna give it a. I'm only giving it a B plus instead of an A because they kind of have a lot of guards between Maxey, McCain, Quentin Grimes. Justin Edwards a little is like a 3-2, something like that. Only because they kind of have a lot of guards. I thought a wing would have been better, like an Ace Bailey who can play 3. And VJ will play 3. He's athletic enough. He's good enough of a defender to where he will play some 3. But B plus, I will say. And even though I am obviously a big fan of him. Nipple at 4, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. I think when you looked at when the draft lottery first got announced, Charlotte originally was just going to take whatever was left over from Philly. If Philly took Ace Bailey, then they were going to take VJ Edgecombe. If Philly took VJ, then they were going to take Ace Bailey. They didn't do either. Obviously, VJ went 3, but they didn't take Ace Bailey. And obviously, we know what, again, Ace didn't want to go for. But Concanipple, I mean, they're trying. Thought that Charlotte really should still be drafting for best talent available, I would say. Concanipple is kind of a more, I would say, more on the safer side and like a guy you kind of want to go when you have some things established. Charlotte doesn't have anything established, especially when you just trade away Mark Williams and you don't have a center anymore. You have Yusuf Nurkic and the Diabate guy. But I mean, Concaneple's a good player, so I will say I'm gonna say C probably just because I thought that Charlotte could still be drafting for upside. And it's not saying Concanepple can't get better and what he's coming in as is his final product because that's not true for any of these guys really. But I just thought they were going to go more upside than more of a relatively safe-ish pick. And then Ace Bailey at 5. Utah said, I don't care what did you want, Ace Bailey. We're taking the best player available. Danny Ainge just running things over there. And Danny Ainge, I was like, when I saw this, I was like, there's no way Ace Bailey finishes the night on Utah. He finished the night on Utah, and it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. So I think it's a good situation for him as of like playing wise and as of, like he'll be able to shine because they don't really have anything concrete over there. And if you want to say the things that are somewhat is their guards, like they have Collier, they have Keontae George, and then their big men, Walker Kessler and Filipowski. They took Cody Williams last year. He hasn't panned out so far. It's only been a year, but he did not look good. And Ace Bailey is a stud. So I you got Ace Bailey at 5. And he may not like it, but that's tough. He's a rookie. You don't get the say. This isn't free agency where you can go anywhere you want. So he's gonna have to deal with it. Trey Johnson to the Wizards. Took the best player available, I think, there. I'm sure they really wanted Ace Bailey. But Trey Johnson is probably the best pure scorer in the like draft class as of right now. I think he led freshmen in points per game at just under 20. And he's gonna be fun there. I don't know what their start. I don't know if Washington's going to do this thing where like that they're going to start Smart, Middleton because Middleton opted into his player option. Like start all the older guys. I don't know if they're going to do a mix where like sure Bub Carrington's going to start, but Smart's at the 2, Middleton's at the 3, but then Bilal's at I don't know if they're going to do a mix or if they're just going to go straight young players. Bub, Trey Johnson, who like Kaishan George and Koulibaly and then Alex Sarr. I don't know what they're gonna do, but Trey Johnson, I would assume averages probably 15. So I would say A. And just because I rate a lower player higher than one of the top players doesn't mean that I think that player is better. I just think based on the situation, that team did what they could best versus the other team situation. And then Pelicans at 7 took Jeremiah Fears. I'm not a huge not I don't know too much. I know what kind of player he is. I'm torn. I thought that with this pick before we learned that New Orleans acquired another pick at the end of the lottery, which we'll talk about, of course. They should have taken big because they have a surplus of guards and forwards. You talk about guards, we talk about DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole now, Jordan Hawkins, Jose Alvarado. And then wings, you talk about Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Brandon Boston, Zion Williamson, Bruce Brown. That's 5 right there. And then their centers, after they traded Olynyk, it's like Yves Missy. I thought they should have gone big. C-, I will say. Again, it's nothing on Jeremiah Fears, but I thought the Pelicans could have looked another way there. Brooklyn Nets, 8. take Jaeger Dem, and I know people are not thrilled with what Brooklyn did. They didn't trade. They had 5 first round picks and they didn't trade a single one of them. Um, but honestly, it's a blank. It's like there's not much going on in um Brooklyn, especially if Claxton's maybe going to the Lakers, if people are determining what Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson are like. I don't mind. I don't necessarily care that they didn't trade a pick, but I think you could have looked at I think Jaeger Demon, Nolan Trayor, and then they took a bunch of guards. um, but I'm not. I mean, Jaeger Demon. I think obviously he had an up and down year in college. He dropped because he wasn't very efficient. But I would say this is like a B minus as well. I would say just because it's a good spot for him, but some people aren't a fan of it. 9, Colin Murray Boyles. Colin Murray Boyle again, one of the best defenders in this class. I think it's a B acquiring, even though I said I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I mean that's a good player to have. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a good player to have. It just because of the surplus of wings you have over there. And he's not a guy, he's like a 4, but he plays more of like a bigger player, but he's not that big. He's like 6'7", 6'8". Um, and then come on, Miley Watch goes 10th to Phoenix. I mean A. It's an A, what they needed. Um, I kind of I almost I think it's still an A even after the Mark Williams thing, but it's like I almost wish Colin Murray Boyles fell to them and they still got Mark Williams. So you look at Booker, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Colin Murray Boyles, and Mark Williams. I mean, you still got Ryan Dunn, you still got Bradley Beal, you still got off the bench Nick Richards. But I mean, I'm still I'm a big fan of Mally Watch. Cedric Coward goes to the Grizzlies. I'm giving it a B, even though I said I like what I saw from him, even though it's not a lot from this year. Because it's a reach, right? Like you don't necessarily know what he can do. The type of player he was, but playing 6 games and not knowing too much about him currently, coming off whatever his injury was, I'm not 100% even sure what it is. Um, it's kind of a scary game to play, but I'm not against it. Noah Senge, I'm gonna give it a B as well. Um, I don't have too much to say. I said everything I needed to say when I was talking about the picks I weren't really a fan of. New Orleans trades for 13 from Atlanta, and they get Derek Queen. They took a big, not the big I would want, honestly. I'm not a huge Derek Queen guy either. I understand the hype around him. I get he's a skilled big, but people calling him the next Jokic, I don't know, the next Jokic, the next whatever. When the man averaged 1.9 assists in 30 minutes over 36 games, it's not the next Jokic. He shot 20% from three. He's not the next Jokic. I hate to inform you. I also don't think Derek Queen is a guy that is going to be playing center his first few years of his career because I look at him more of a 4 than I do because he's not the perfect defensive player. He's also not the biggest defensive player. So I think he would benefit playing alongside another big, but it doesn't really say that. So I'm gonna give Derek Queen probably a C minus just because I'm not all in for it. And then Carter Bryant, 14th to the Spurs, giving it an A. Because again, we already talked about that. Some other picks that we can, just talk about real quick. I mean the Hanson Yang guy, the player from China that was a part of the Memphis and Portland swap. I think that's interesting. I mean, hopefully you can get rid of at least Robert Williams and DeAndre Ayton, so you don't draft another big in back-to-back years when you just drafted Klingon. Jokic Jonas, I'm kind of surprised he fell to 20. I know a lot of people are not sold on him. And he had a wishy-washy year too, but I think that very well could be the steal of the draft, one of the steals of the draft. Will Riley, I think, was good at 21, going to Utah. Asa Newell is gonna have to prove some things to me. Neat Clifford, thank God he got moved to Sacramento because if he's the guy that he looks like he might be, um, thank goodness he's not going to OKC and they get another player like that. I think he could also be a steal of the draft. Jace Richardson goes to Orlando. I think that's pretty good fit. Liam McNeely is going to Charlotte. And then I don't know how to pronounce the Niederhauser guy that went 30. I think James Harden's going to make him look real nice. But yeah, that was the NBA 2025 first round of the NBA lottery, grading, everything like that. Um, that's all I have for you for this. Again, Worlds will be back with us next week. But make sure you guys follow our social media, Hoops All In. Because Worlds runs all that on Instagram, TikTok, and X. And then make sure you subscribe to this channel, of course, but also subscribe to our personal channels, Keith AJI and Worlds TV. And that's all I will have for you. And make sure you guys come back as we are dropping videos every week for you guys.